You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
I'm excited to tackle the topic of how to finally feel free. It's one of the things that most of us want, to feel like we do not carry around the weight of the world on our shoulders. But the problem is, many of us don't know any other way. It's how we've always lived, or at least since we've been an adult, at least since we've taken on all of these responsibilities, whether it's a mortgage or whether it's a family or a partnership, whatever it might be. You feel all of the stress and that you can't shake it, that you take it to bed with you at night and that you wake up in the morning with it. Well, what I want to go over today is why you feel that in the first place, because remember, if you don't know your why, you will never be able to figure out how to do it any other way, how to get out of it. So that's why in medicine, in natural medicine, we talk about it all the time. You have to know your why. You have to know why you have diabetes, or why you have high cholesterol or Hashimoto's or rheumatoid arthritis or IBS or migraines or psoriasis, any of those conditions, any other one. And no, it's not genetic. Yes, you contain the genes which allow for the expression of whatever that dis-ease is in the body, but that does not mean that you have to have it. Everyone in your family could be predisposed to it, but I'm pretty sure everyone in your family did not most likely have that issue as a 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old. It probably set in a little bit later in life. It probably began as that rain barrel began to overflow, just like it was for me. Now, I got my dis-eases younger than even my parents did, or my grandparents, but that's because my rain barrel filled up a whole lot faster. But now, I don't have those diseases yet. I still have the same genetics. So what I want to talk about with you is not health-based today. What I want to talk about with you is the ability in any area of your life, and typically we talk about that in terms of relationships. We talk about it in terms of overall health, vitality, of course, your ability to even live life to the fullest. That's what health really is. Or your ability to take back control of your body. Maybe for you, that allows freedom. We'll talk about that in just a moment. I know that's going to be a big topic coming up this year. Or what about in your career? Do you feel like you're actually able to feel your purpose, give back in some way, or enjoy what you do with your life from that 9 to 5, whatever you want to call it? And then, of course, there's spirituality. And for me, spirituality could be a religion. There's no doubt about that. It could be your connection with God, a higher power. Or it could simply mean your connectedness with the world around you. Do you feel at peace? That's a big part of spirituality. At least it is for me. And that's the nice thing about spirituality. It can be what you make of it. It can be what you need. I mean, people look towards religion much of the time because it does satisfy a need that they have. They need that connection with a greater purpose, with a higher power, or with the world around them, whatever works for them. And I'm not here to judge whatever religion that may be. But what I want to say is when you don't feel free, almost all of the time, it is because you are fighting up against the definition of who you are. And here's what I mean by that. So each one of us has some other type of sphere of influence around us that is dictating a lot of the time how we are supposed to act, and much of the time how we're supposed to feel and what we're supposed to do. So as an example, let me just give you this. If you are at the point right now where you're out of your house, so basically, let's say you're in your 20s, 30s, and beyond. And again, a lot of people listen to the podcast, much older as well. But here's the thing. Are your parents still dictating who you are supposed to be. Remember, this is huge. Most people don't ever get over their stress, tension, anxiety, overwhelm in life until they break free of being that child. Now, again, this is not supposed to be any disrespect to your family, siblings, parents, grandparents. It's not supposed to be. But what their job was hopefully to keep you safe, enable you to experience the world, again, in a safe way, as a child. That is basically the goal. Like, you're trying to keep your kids safe. If you have kids, like I have 2 young girls, my job as a father is to make them feel safe. Now, it's not to allow them to get hurt sometimes, yes. To allow them to challenge themselves, to have adventures, I want that. But ultimately, they can't take care of themselves yet. I must be their caretaker. But at some point in their life, I need to also let them be them. Let them express them. Well, a lot of families, they don't do that. And the reason is they hold on to that safety and security for too long for you. I've given this example many times, but a lot of the times, and again, much of the people that I end up connecting with, because we are on that same wavelength, we were not necessarily supposed to be where we are right now. We came from either families or mindsets that were play it safe, do the right thing, get a paycheck, work 9 to 5, check in, check out, save for a house, be careful with your money, like all of those things. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Those values were instilled in people so that they would always be able to be safe, secure, and take care of themselves in life. But, and that's good for a lot of people, it really is. And so if that advice works for you, live it, enjoy it, and really take that to heart in your own life. But if that does not work for you, meaning like I gave the example, I think just last week or the week before on a Motivation and Mindset Monday, where a friend of mine, a good colleague of mine, everyone in the family had to become a doctor. So his family came from overseas, the Middle East. He came over. He became a chiropractor. He said, okay, never practiced, though, a day in his life chiropractic. He satisfied his parents' requirement, family requirement. Everybody had to be a doctor. And he did that. After that, what did he do? He went on to fulfill his dream of opening a gym. Did he need to be a chiropractor to open a gym? Absolutely not. Do you get any greater skill of becoming a gym owner by going to school to become a chiropractor? Absolutely not. So what he had to do, though, for him, he said, okay, my parents can now tell all of their friends or whatever it might be, I don't know because I don't know his parents, that my son is a doctor. Great. What did he do? He said, I have to live my own life. So he actually moved, I think, halfway across the country. He moved halfway across the country, moved to California, opened his first gym. Many years later, went on to open a chain of gyms. He's living his life. That's just one story. For me, what I had to say is, I've had enough, and I've always beat to the drum. What is that quote? I don't know what the quote is specifically off the top of my head, but I've always marched to the beat of my own drummer. That's it. And so I've worked for many other companies in my early 20s, and I just said, it just doesn't work for me because it's not in line with what I want to do in life. It really is not. So I started to go off on my own. And even though I had a little bit of early success, my parents still wanted me to play it safe. Don't take on that lease. Don't take on all that monthly overhead. Don't do this. Don't do that. You're doing okay. Keep working for that company there. And it's just not what spoke to me, for me personally. But again, I had all of these expectations of what I was supposed to do, of what I was supposed to be, right? So here's the interesting thing. Everyone has a different view of you. My parents have a view of who I am. I was their child. They raised me for 18 years before I went off to college. My siblings had a view of me as the oldest child in the family. And I don't think I was the best older brother. I really don't. Because I was not in a very good place during my younger years. And I've talked about that on previous Mindset and Motivation Mondays. I try to do a lot of reparation, I think is what I try to do, of trying to be a better person now because I just don't think I was a very good person when I was younger. In fact, I know that I wasn't. Because I wasn't in a good place. That's why you can't pour from an empty cup. My cup was empty in terms of who I was as a person. I did not even start studying mindsets and what I'm about to share with you today until about 22, 23 years old. So a lot of people might not be hearing this till they're 45. That's okay. Your mind's pretty much set even when you're 22, 23. You can change at any age. So again, but my siblings had that view of me. Now again, they have that ingrained view unless they decide to change. And again, I'll share that with you. Coworkers, they have a view of me. Everyone has a different view of you through the vantage point and lens of the eyes that they look through. So you will be a child, a brother, a sister, a father, a husband, a wife, a spouse, a partner, a boss, an employee, whatever it might be. Everyone has a different view of you. Here's the problem. It's a different vantage point for everyone. But now you carry around the weight of all of those things trying to appease everyone's image of you. So you're trying to be the good son or daughter. You're trying to be the good father, mother, grandparent even. You're trying to live up to all of these expectations. And because of that, you have a lot of overwhelm or anxiety in your life trying to meet everyone else's needs and wants from you. Now, that basically is shackles. You are literally chained to all of those expectations. So the only way you will finally be free in life is to say that you are no longer here to satisfy other people's view of you to them. Now, you do not have to be negative doing this. I did this many, many years ago. And I believe that I've actually become a better person because of that. It doesn't mean that I don't speak my mind. It doesn't mean that I don't try to help others out. I believe I try to help others out more so today than I ever have. And I believe I'm able to do that at a much greater degree because I have a better vantage point for one, but I also have more means to be able to do that. But that only happened when I said, you know what? I appreciate your input. I see where you're coming from. I respect your point of view. However, it is my point of view that I have to live with. You have to live with you. I have to live with me. I want to try to be the best version of me. When I'm the best version of me, believe me, everyone else will benefit from that because I'll be happier. I will be healthier. I will have filled up my cup. And now I will be able to pour out more to others. That means I can share more. If I make more money, if I'm more successful, can I give more financial means to others? Of course I can, right? Of course I can. I was able to build up a practice. So when I wrote The Rain Barrel Effect, I said, I'm going to give 100% of all profits from this book to charity. And we wrote our biggest check ever this year, just this month. But it only happened because I was able to fulfill what I wanted to do for me, create the practice that I wanted to create. Because I knew that if it was something that spoke to me, that there was at least going to be a few other people out there, probably hundreds, maybe thousands, that would also resonate with that. And if they did, then I would be able to help them. And I help them. I'm compensated for that. And I can also then give to others. That's just one aspect. That's in career. But also relationship-wise. How many people resent their partner or their spouse or someone else, parents will include that, because they are only living a life in order to make that other person happy, to appease the other person. So they are more irritable. They're not happy because they're trying to make someone else happy. Well, most likely, newsflash, right? Most likely that other person is not happy because you're unhappy, right? I say that all the time to people like, listen, you're unhappy. If you are unhappy, believe me, it's not going to make me happy. What can we do to make you happy? What can we do to make you happy so that those around you are also happy? I'm telling you right now, If you are happy and you are in the presence of others, they will be happier. They will energetically feel that. And also, at any rate, they simply won't be consoling you. And the level of conversation is going to be so much higher because you're most likely going to be talking about goals and what is possible versus what you're currently struggling with. Now, again, we all struggle, there's no doubt about it, but there's two ways to look at it. Present struggle versus the future goal attainment. So you have what you're struggling with, but then you can also share what you intend to do. Now, I know the two aren't together yet. Well, you need to move on from the struggle in order to get what you intend to do. And usually in between there's a process of visualization. There's a process of then doing, of actually doing the work that moves you towards your intention. And again, I've gone over that many, many times. But what I want you to do right now is share with you something that, again, carry this over with anything. The only way to get free is to use this it's an ancient phrase that the yogis and they're called the seers, the Vedas in ancient India. They talked about this in the ancient Indian texts, and I'll go over those in the future. But they said that you must, now this is going to sound very strange, but you must become nothing. You must enter into a state of nothing. Now, that doesn't make sense at face value. It doesn't, right? Just like when I went before and I said, what you need to do in order to achieve your goals, whatever goal it is to become extraordinary. And people are like, well, I can't become extraordinary. It's too much. True. It might seem too much. But if you break down what is extraordinary, it is extraordinary. So if you want something that is not common, that most people don't have, the happy relationship, the great career, the body, the health, their spirituality, you must do something extraordinary, which means you must do something extraordinary. You must just do something that ordinary people don't do in order to achieve their goals. That makes sense, right? Most people don't achieve their goals. Good, fine, okay, that's for them. You don't have to be part of that. You can be a part of the population that does achieve their goals, that does something that's just extraordinary, right? Doing something extraordinary would simply be going to the gym more days than not. Why is that extraordinary? Because most people don't go to the gym. In the United States, it's less than 13% of the population exercises, and that's generous. So by exercising, you are doing something extraordinary. By visualizing your goals, you are doing something extraordinary. So let's go back now to the yogis. You have to become nothing. You have to enter a state of nothing. What does that mean? Well, let's break it down. Nothing, just like extraordinary being extraordinary, nothing is no thing. You must enter a state of no thing. You must become no thing. What does that mean? It means you have no ties. You are no thing. You are not the partner, the spouse, the mother, the father, the sibling, the child, the coworker. You've become no thing, where there is no expectation, really not that someone has of you, because here's the thing, that's on them. That's how they see you. Okay, you don't need to put that on you. You must rid yourself of what you believe you need to be to other people. That's it. Now, that does not mean that you are not going to be a good person. That's not it. It's not it at all. You're going to live, as they say, your best life. You're going to do that, if you're listening to this podcast, of being of great service to others, while at the same time also serving what you were meant to do, what your purpose is, what you feel that is. And there's no right or wrong answer. Living what your passions are. Now, you don't have to drop everything, but it can be a part of your life so that you start to live life to a greater degree. Now, here's some ways to do that, though, because on the Cabral concept, I always want to give you action. Now, if you are currently dealing with a disease right now, you are no thing. You are not that disease. I had Addison's disease, type 2 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, myalgic encephalitis, POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. I could go on and on. I had IBS diagnosis, I had depression diagnosis, I had all of these different things. Mastocytosis, all these labels I was given. Well, so I was the person who suffered from, you name it, EB, Addison's type. I mean, I had a whole list I could go through. And I was a victim of those. Well, if you associate with the diseases, guess what you're going to get more of? Plenty of disease. Because it's part of your self-image. Go back. If this is the first time you are hearing this type of a message, please go back. Listen to the previous Mindset and Motivation Mondays. In 2020, the Mindset and Motivation will be its own collection of podcasts. You'll be able to see those. Go back, listen to the shows. Because what you resonate with, you get more of. Remove the label of who you are. I said I was no longer any of these diseases. Not at all. They were not a part of me. I was not it. You must remove that label. Same with your family history. If everyone in your family always got this type of job, if everyone in your family always did this type of work, if everyone in your family, they never went to college, they never went beyond undergrad, they never got their master's degree, they never went on and became self-employed, they never did any of these things, that does not have to be you. You are allowed to write your own history. From this moment forward, you can create a new destiny. There's no doubt about that. You have to go into a space where you just sever those energetic attachments because that's all they are. They don't actually exist except in your mind and your energy. You are the one who makes them continue to be true on a daily basis because they're not. Once you decide to break that, but that also doesn't mean that your family's bad. Not at all. It just means that you are allowed to start a new family tradition. Maybe for your children. That's okay as well. Show them something different. Your parents did the best they could of what they had. Now it's time for you to do the best you can for your children as well. And if you don't have children, that's okay. For people that you serve, whoever that may be in your community. So what I want you to do right now is to understand that you have to move into a state of no thing, of no specific attachments of who you need to be. Yes, you will continue to be that partner, spouse, parent, grandparent, child, coworker, whatever it might be. You'll continue in those roles, but you will not continue to live in the expectations of others. You will begin to become a leader of your own life. You will now decide what your own destiny is. And that may not change tomorrow, but the trajectory of your thought can change today. What I want you to understand from this show today is this, is that if you want to relieve the burden of all that overwhelm and anxiety and tension and stress that you carry around, feeling that you are literally carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders because you're doing everything for everyone else exactly how they want it, it's time to begin to slowly unload that burden, to begin to do a little bit more of what brings you peace in life, a little bit more of what brings you joy, because that joy is going to emanate from you. Everyone will want you to do more of that. There's no doubt about it. And those people who support you on that, you know that they are your best connection. Those are the people that you're going to want to spend more time with. Those are the people that you'll also most likely say, how can I also help you achieve all of your goals? Remember, all of this comes full circle. As the great Jim Rohn said, I'll take care of me for you if you'll take care of you for me. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Motivation and Mindset Monday. I appreciate you. Have an amazing day. And as always, if this show is helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stephencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.